this guy, John. when when it comes to him, fuck Dune. That's basically. We have to, because I was thinking about saving this, but we have to get into this. So we're gonna get into Dune real quick, okay?
Okay.
And to preface this, okay, like J Mac told you in the beginning, he is our resident Dune fan. You can see behind him, he has half of the damn popcorn bucket on the wall. He has memorabilia down there, cups, all types of shit. He loves Dune. Okay, us two over here, we love Dune. We love Dune Part 2. She loves Dune Part 1. I liked Dune Part 1.
Okay. Okay, that's fair enough.
No, I said that.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, we have this guy, John. when it comes to him, fuck Dune. That's basically. And listen, during this podcast, throughout the weeks that we record an episode, somehow Dune gets brought up at least once.
Okay.
Where it'll just be something where it's like, man, I really like how this movie did it with sand. Oh man, fuck sand, cause fuck Dune. it'll be something like that.
Hold on. While we're talking, let me. I'm gonna see if I can actually pull something off my shelf. But
there's no way you find it.
Found it. Yeah, you found it quick.
Yo, that was crazy. That was crazy.
Hell yeah.
The original.
That's dope.
So I do have the steel books to Dune, the new one as well, and unfortunately they're buried within my massive film archive. And if I haven't said anything about my second collection, I own over 9,000 movies, minus 200 that I lost in the fire when my house burned down. Yeah, and so I've been trying to rebuild. It's been horrible, but not to bring that down. But Dune, you know, I love Dune. I really do. And it's because of the aspect of building a story. And so I know that most people, their attention spans are really hard today, right? I mean, if you have everybody needs action. Everybody needs something that can drive them into getting into the movie, right? If your movie's a slow burn, you're not gonna like it, right? I mean, that goes for anything. People have said that for Nosferatu, you know, and there's many other movies we can talk about, but for the most part, I mean, the thing is that Dune is a really hard book. It's really hard. You're right. It's like The Watchmen, and Zack Snyder. I actually think Zack Snyder's Watchmen is his opus. He took the time, he understood it, and he actually made something phenomenal, right? And I know not everybody's gonna like The Watchmen. You know, people will always criticize the ending and everything, but I really do think that he changed it up for a reason to make it more accessible, because most people never even read the graphic novel, right? And that goes for Dune, right? I mean, Dune is a snooze fest. I read Dune. I don't remember anything about it because that fucking book was horrible to read through, at least in my brain, because, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, as a sci-fi, I mean, it's one of the most pinnacle sci-fis on the world, right? I mean, there's a reason why we have it. The thing about it is that the world building is really difficult because you have multiple different layers of different worlds, and the way that the Arcanans and all these other, you know, factions are battling each other, and it really is more character driven. You know, there's not a lot of action in the book itself, you know, and the spin-offs and everything that have come out from Dune are just I don't know, but it's really it's ultimately it's really hard to develop something like this, because the problem is that the source material makes it that hard. right? And so you have to world build. You have to ultimately get through, excuse me, you have to get through the first layer before you get into the action, because the action is all about the second film, right? He builds it, he builds you the landscape, he tells you, okay, this is what's going on slowly. And yes, it's building and it's building and it's building. And you get a little action towards the very end. But the way that it cuts and the way that it starts off is what I think is fantastic, because the way it ends and the way that it starts for part two is like the perfect way of now getting into what really needs to be done and what's really the whole premise of what Dune's really going to be talking about, right? And leading off into the third film, right? And the third film, that's another problem, because it's just like Dune. It has, it's all about, character. There's really not a lot. There is action, but there's not a lot of it, right? And so, you have to really build the premise on how you drive your story, and I think it's wonderful. I think that he did a phenomenal job, really, truly. I mean, I could only imagine what anybody and even the writers were sitting down thinking about how the fuck are we going to make this book into this movie and take on it, really take on it. And, and so I think it's one of the best sci-fis that has come out in a very, very long time. I really do. You know,
Is that your Oscar winner?
not everyone's going to agree with me. And you guys yourselves will not agree or disagree. And you guys can have this battle all day long. But I really think that, you have to think, I mean, every frame in that movie, and I'm going to say it, every frame's a painting, because boy, that's all right. And this is going to go on a tangent for a second, but every frame of painting is a content guy on YouTube. If you love film essays, I highly recommend it. If you don't know who he is, every frame of painting, yeah, spot on. But yeah, every frame is a painting within Dune, and you could screenshot any scene, and it would be just a perfect wallpaper, pretty much, right? And so, capturing a lifeless desert with sandworms is really hard. But you also have to think, like, what really did, what has done that before, and that's Lawrence of Arabia, right? And when they shot Lawrence of Arabia, they shot it on 70 millimeter, right? And so they got the big huge wide angle lens or off an arc lens, really, and they captured the entire vast of the desert, because there's nothing out there, right? And so you see him like walking over the desert, and you see the sun coming up, and just the whole landscape in the grand scheme of things, you know, that is the only one way you can tell a story, really, right? Because if you shot something that was narrow on a desert, I don't think it wouldn't work, And so having a big landscape and seeing everything at the max it can, that's what makes Dune. That's what makes his Dune, right? I mean, David Lynch doesn't like what he made, and by God, there's a reason why. I mean, the studio butchered it to death. But his I mean, it's David Lynch. I love David Lynch. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I don't know. Okay, I'm spouting off now. Now I'm just going on a tangent. What about you guys?
No, I
Jimmy,
love Dune. I
okay.
mean, yeah. This
Yeah.
the first one, we got into a heated debate here, and there's a whole YouTube video on it between me and Justin here. And I got the Oscar nomination, and before Dune Part 2, that was my favorite movie. I loved every shot. I love every cinematic in there. The score was beautiful. I mean, it won the Oscar for the score. So I just loved Dune Part 1, and then coming into the greatness of Dune Part 2, as we all know, like, it just capped off a perfect duo to that film, to that first part. So I'm excited for Messiah. I can't wait to see what Denis does with it. Yeah, I can't wait. So I just love it. So I don't know if you guys want to speak on anything else on it.
Yeah, going into that first one, because for me, seeing something, it's always like, oh damn, they're in it. This person's in it. That person's in it. And when it comes out that like, damn, like 8 actors that I know are in it, like I'm gonna watch it. And obviously the first Dune was like that. I mean, you talk about Timothy Chalamet, Zendaya, Oscar Isaac, Aquaman, what's his name? Jason Momoa. Like the cast was ridiculous. So going into it, I just I thought it was good. I just thought in some parts it got a little boring. And obviously, like you said, we had a heated debate. Like it got crazy. But going into part 2, it was so crazy because when the first reviews came out for that movie, they were insane. Like they were talking about how this is going to be our generation's Empire Strikes Back, and this movie is the best movie of the year, and all kinds of things like that. And I didn't, I wasn't discrediting it because obviously you can't if you haven't seen the movie. But I was already like, when you hear something like that, you go into a movie already like thinking something about it. And watching the movie, it met those expectations, and we were having those conversations like, wow, like that was fucking incredible. And we saw it twice. We saw it once in, just the regular whatever. Then we saw it the second time in IMAX. And we live in Arizona, so we don't have true IMAX, like, the top level of IMAX, but it's still, the screen is wide and the sound is better. And seeing the movie that second time, the sound was better and we were able to actually understand more of the dialogue. And it just enhanced the movie that second time even more. So from what we already had, the movie being a 10, it made it a fucking 12. Like it was great. Yeah. J-Mag had asked you, and I don't think you heard him. Was that your best movie last year? Is that your best picture for 2024?
It is one of my top 5 pick. I mean, for last year, to be honest with you, I think horror was the best genre last year. I think it really took the cake out of anything. And I mean, Dune Part 2, for me, I love Nosferatu. I think Nosferatu is a fantastic film. And not just to be saying, oh, Eggers fan and worked with him, but I really do like his work. But I think the substance is for the best body. It's one of the best body horror films. It really is. I mean, Cronenberg. I am a huge Cronenberg fan. I own every Cronenberg film because why not? And I think that's one of the best films of last year. Now I haven't seen every single film from last year. There's still like Anora, what is it? The new A24 film. God, it'll come back to me. But Anora is one of them that I need to see. Was it Queer? I need to see Queer too. And there's a Brutalist. There we go. And that one I need to see too. So those 3 I have not seen, but I would think that they probably will go up on my list at some point because I just have this weird feeling that I like them. But yeah, no, I think Dune Part 2 is on my 5 pick for the year. I mean, I think it deserves something. If anything, special effects. I mean, or visual effects, really. I mean, it's an incredible film, really.